Hello and welcome to another episode of Property-Pxrn Stars, the premium property podcast, brought to you by your hosts David Lindley.
And I'm Matt Giggs.
And our star today is none other than David Warburton of WeLocate and Burton James estate agents.
That's right.
From Tup North, from
Yes.
Bury.
Indeed, yeah.
Made the long trip down to see us in London, so thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
How you doing? You all right?
Really good, thank you, yeah. Early start this morning, but it's okay.
It's okay.
Bit colder up north as well as I got here.
Top off.
Yeah.
Top off.
Yeah. Sun's out, guns out.
Sun's out, guns out.
Taking the porn star brief very seriously.
Yeah. No, honestly, I had like 3 layers on this morning. I got here, I was like, what the hell? So I was just carrying my coat around on the tube.
It's the other way for us, isn't it? You pack
light.
Pack light, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, talk to us about your business then, because you have 2 businesses and...
I do.
Well, I suppose you maybe more than that. I was thinking about your agency brands more to speak. So what I was interested in was looking at the premium property, why you have 2 brands in the first place, and how you set up your business, how you came to be in business in the first place. So give us a bit of an introduction into who you are, what your business is, where you are, and how it works.
Okay, yeah. So I've got the two brands. One's a resi brand, and one is more higher end premium now. The premium one is more recent, so over the last couple of years that I've introduced that into the business. But I wanted something completely separate to what I'm doing right now. So, I started off in the corporate world. I was part of Your Move, which was a really great education. I mean, I know you've come back from a sort of countrywide background, haven't you? And I think anybody who's wanting to start out in the industry, I'd always recommend a corporate start. I think you need a bit of time.
Saying that on the last one.
I do really believe it. I get asked a lot, how would you get into the industry? What would you recommend? And my answer is always the same. I think either a really good independent that you can learn from, or go and do corporate, because you learn every position in corporate and you invariably have to climb the ladder to make a success of it. So, I worked at Your Move for probably 6 or 7 years. And if I'm dead honest, my goal there was to get as much experience as I could, work there for about 12 months and then set up on my own. But I just really enjoyed it, sort of climbing the ladder there. And things changed within the industry, I think. The likes of Purple Bricks and Yopa came out, and the corporate world became, I think, doubly difficult. I didn't like where it was going, if I'm dead honest with you.
What do you mean by that? Doubly difficult where it's going?
So, I think when you start your own business, you've got your own values. And what I found, I remember, I'll never forget it. It was one of the sort of the final straws for me in a way. I remember coming out of valuation. It was only mid-range stuff, so it was about 250,000. It was worth around 240 to 250,000. And as a company, we were losing a lot to the likes of Purple Bricks and Yopa at the time, because they were just coming forward with their £1,000 offering. And I remember coming out and speaking to one of the managers above me and saying, did you overvalue it to get it? No. So we'd sort of said, how much was it worth? 250,000. Yeah. Did you value it at 270? I said, no. He said, you need to start doing that to keep winning the instructions, because that's what's happening now. And it just doesn't align with my beliefs. So I just didn't like that anymore. And that was kind of the thing that I wanted to move away from and start my own brand. But going back to that, apart from that, I think it's a really good footing in the industry. I really do, corporate world.
I think the corporate world, it's a machine, isn't it? There's a lot of people to pay.
Yes.
There's a lot of overheads.
Yeah.
So you have to...
Statistically driven, which you should be, but for a lot of the wrong reasons, in my opinion. Yeah. But anyway, so I decided to have a go on my own. So I set up my resi brands in 2016. But at that point, naively, I thought that that's where it was going. £999 fees, sometimes £749 introductory fees, no sale, no fee.
You weren't the only one that thought that at the time.
Yeah. Well, I know you've had James and Ian on the podcast as well.
Yeah,
already.
both. Funny enough, all 3 of you, Yeah,
it's exactly the same. We've all come from the same sort of background.
Probably about the same timing as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Can't have been that far off.
Yeah, exactly that. So, I started that off, and it was just, there were 3 of us at the time, and it was just the usual thing, door knocking, dropping leaflets as fast as we could do them. The instant valuation tools had just come out at that point, your Valpals and things like that. So they were really good actually when they first. They're still pretty good actually for capturing data, but for a certain market. And we just had these valuation tools running. We were getting lots and lots of leads through, and things started really well. You know, we were listing very, very well in our first few months. And from the outside looking in, you know, people thought I'd made it. It was like, oh my God, you're flying. But on the inside, I was dying because you just can't make it pay. You just cannot make it pay. So that went on for probably 2 years. And I made a terrible decision as well early on it felt like we were growing very, very quickly. And I started to recruit heavily. So I took on 3 or 4 more staff. And before you know it, my overheads were at a stupid rate. I couldn't handle it and ended up making redundancies, which was probably the worst periods of my life. Hated it, working life that is. And I just went back to basics to what I knew and started valuing properly at percentage fees, changed the proposition completely. And therefore we went a lot better. I had to part company with a couple of people along the way, which was a tough learning curve as well. But it was a learning curve, and I think that you've got to get through adversity sometimes, don't you, to come out the other side and do 100%.
Well.
So so that was kind of the WeLocate journey.
Was WeLocate the brand that is it the same brand where you were doing the lower fees as well, and then you changed the business model, or was it a new company, separate company?
Yeah, it was the same brand.
Okay,
so the same brand. So we just changed it. I literally just changed overnight. Everything.
What was that like?
What just?
It's going from almost like one strategy.
Yeah.
To the polar opposite.
A massive weight off my back, if I'm dead honest with you.
Good.
Because I'm much. We'll probably come on to this when we get to the premium side of it, but I'm much more now quality over quantity. I don't think that having a huge number of instructions, when you do, you'll always be fighting at the bottom end. You'll be bottom feeding with the rest of the other agents, going out looking for the 0.75% fees, £1,500 fees, and it's not a nice place to be. It isn't. I just don't think you can service the clients with that level of instructions and people to look after. So I think the client loses ultimately. And obviously coming from a corporate background, I had that, as much as it was my brand and I wanted to look after the client, I wanted every view to be perfect, a perfect sort of listing. You still have that mentality in the background. I'm big on KPIs, big on stats. I love my statistical data and I measure our stats every day. And that's one great thing that I did learn from corporate from day one. Spreadsheets for everything, which was handy. But I think that once you get to a level at the bottom end where you're just fighting for fees, you lose sight of what you're actually trying to achieve. And that's exactly what happened. I hated it.
It's really interesting, that perception there. Yeah, totally. Or that reality, actually.
Yeah. And it wasn't a good time, to be honest with you. Like I say, I had people from the outside looking in going, oh, you're flying, you're doing so well. And I was like, yeah. With gritted teeth. Yeah, it's great. It's really great. I can't sleep at night, but yeah.
But I think like it's a funny thing. I think we're on sort of similar missions, kind of with different methods of getting there, of encouraging agents to move up market, be it through the Complete Agent or By Design or the podcast that we're doing here today is all centered around that.
Yeah.
And the bottom end of the market can be so tough and I think it's getting tougher as well. You have more agents than ever before, more pressure on fees than ever before. And then you end up in a bit of a tailspin sometimes if you take on more and more stock, you need more team members to service that. So your overheads go up and then you need more stock to service the overhead bill.
Yeah.
And also, if you're going to hire really great people, you got to pay a lot more money for them.
Yeah, exactly that. That's a really great point.
A
really great point.
Not only, it's not easy, right? There's not many.
I also think as well, on that point there that you've made, I think it's a really good one. I think the best people generally will probably go off and do something on their own anyway. So you'll find that you're on that merry-go-round. You'll get somebody great in, they'll be doing well for a certain amount of time, and then see you later. Somebody will come along and get them, or they'll want to have a go on their own. So you're kind of on that merry-go-round. So I think that the industry's changed for that. I think obviously Purple Bricks actually helped in a way. I think it was a...
Do you know, when you mentioned Purple Bricks earlier, I thought it paved the way for people to consider being self-employed.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I do agree with you. I think that's what happened. I think it was actually a really good idea. And obviously it's worked really well still going, although it's a different proposition now. But it's obviously I think, led the way for the likes of the XPs and Keller Williams and all that sort of stuff with the self-employed models to thrive.
It certainly broke that ground, didn't it, of self-employed as a concept in the industry. Yeah.
Absolutely, and it's completely normal in Australia and America. And it just felt like we've been behind almost.
Do you do, this might be a short bit of conversation, but do you do any self-employed agency within WeLocate in your business? Do you have any of that? Or
not yet, but it is certainly something that I'm going to be going down, a route that I'm going to be going down. So I've recently downsized quite a bit. So we've had to restructure quite recently with a few changes within the company. So, I have finance, lettings, sales on the resi. We've now got the higher end brand. I've got stuff with Ian James going on. There's a lot going on. And
I know how that feels.
I
completely understand.
Absolutely. So we've had to restructure, and we're going through that at the moment. But I think that I will be going down, partner agent route. I think it's the better route. I think it's the better route for everybody. I think it's better I actually think it's better. You've got to reverse engineer it. What is better for the client? And I actually think a personal agent is better for the client every day of the week. I really do. You've got to have a strong support team, which we do. But going out valuing myself, going out to the high end stuff that I've learned certainly over the last few years. Again, I'm sure we'll come on to that. But they need you. They want you, and they need your expertise, and they need guiding through it. And you need good, strong team members behind you to support that journey for them. And that's what I love actually about the high end in comparison to resi.
Just elaborate on that for a second. What do you mean?
Well, I dare I say, so at the higher end of the market, I think you get a more appreciation for what you're trying to do with less friction on fees in particular. So if I go out to evaluation, I mean, I'm obviously up in the north, so at sort of £250,000, £300,000 for a 3 or 4 bed semi or a detached home, I think they just want to know mainly what the house is worth and what you're going to charge. Don't get me wrong, we do the same thing on every single home that we list, and we are very much quality over quantity. But it's such a battle, like I say, at the bottom end to get that, to command that higher fee. It just is. Whereas at the higher end, I heard somebody the other week they were sort of saying, I've been out to a 650, it's a friend of mine who used to work in agency with. I went out to a £650,000 house last week, which is a good value for where he is. And he said, I was able to do a 1% fee. I went, wow, you've dropped your pants. Yeah. For what reason? Just for the value of the home. That client wants servicing in a better way. A lot of the people at the top end of the market are time poor, and they want a great service, and they are prepared to pay for it. It's as simple as that. And it's a nicer network to be involved in, I think, because they recommend you to other people quickly. The people that you're showing around the property generally have houses to sell and things like that, and know other people. And it's really enabled us to grow our network very, very quickly over the last couple of years. Yeah, it's an absolute game changer. Yeah, and you're right, even statistically speaking, about the fees across the country. So Simon Ledbetter is someone who runs Unchained Marketing, and we did a lot of work with him. He has a Voice of the Agent survey, and he measures this fee level across price brackets. And at the very bottom of the market is actually slightly higher, except more fixed fees, but then it comes down again to where the average price point is where the lowest fee point is, and then goes up quite strongly, quite quickly up. And that's why the premium market is so attractive. You get the high value, higher commission percentage, less resistance on fees. And it's really interesting what you said there about almost streamlining through their network. So if you provide that service, you're going to get the recommendation because they socialise together at the golf club or dinner parties. Yeah, absolutely. And that's really where you need to be. Ian actually made a great point last week on our podcast, I think it was, but he said, if you're getting recommended on Facebook, I listened to it. I think it's to say, because it's terrible.
I know where this is going to go because I'm probably going to repeat the same message, but go on, finish it.
Yeah, he said if you're getting recommended on Facebook, they're probably not your client. Yeah, your clients are hanging out in the golf club and places like that, and nice cafe bars and cafes and shops and things like that. That's your type of client. It's a different network. Yeah, and he is spot on.
They look for the right agent. They are aware of what they need. I think the Facebook ones, when you get tagged in and you're like, and they're going, does anybody recommend? And you're like, it's nice to see your name recommended, but the first question they always ask is, what are your fees?
Of course they do. Yeah, we get tagged a lot.
What's your equity? Tell me that, and I'll tell you my fee. you know, I joke, but I say to my guys, be polite, but, you know, let's move into the market that we want to be in, which is what I'm really interested in hearing from what you've just said, is I think, imagine if every agent just went, what kind of clients do you want to work with? What market do you want to work in? What value do you want to give? And what do you think that's worth to the client? Tell us about that, your tangible value, the service, the marketing. Start there and then fucking hold it.
Yeah.
Right? You know, I'm saying to my guys, no more negotiation. No more negotiation. There's always that, well, you know, there's that one that we're going to sell it quick or we'll get this. And it's like, don't care, lose it.
Slippery slope.
Let's focus on what we deliver, who we want to work with, the kind of, and it's being that certain, that clear. You build around that. You build the skills, the questions, the approach, the marketing, the add-ons, all of the things that market appreciates. And then, like I'd say Ian's done, you start to attract that particular clientele rather than you go outbound.
Yeah.
It's inbound.
Yeah. I think the other thing I would say at the top end of the market, which I've really experienced, is I am often the only agent out. So, I mean, we use a lot of direct mail and stuff to get to our leads and valuations. So that massively helps. But I think from the ones that are seeing what you already do, you know, so that, and the consistency in your proposition, I keep speaking to loads of people about this, that, you know, some will say, we didn't do a video on that one because we didn't quite get the fee. And I'm thinking, well, that's why you're not getting the fee, because you're not consistent in your approach every single time. So it's, you know, for us, it's they can see that we give a twilight on every single shot. It's every single shoot. It's a brochure on every single shoot. It's a proper cinematic video on every single shoot. It's a copywritten description on every single shoot. Everything is the same, and it's high level. And I think the minute that you drop your standards, that's when you're on a slippery slope, because you'll do it on the next one, then you do it on the next one. So I take your point. I've tried to drill that into loads of people in the past. Just stick to your guns.
But do you think there's an element where some people should just work in the lower end because they want to work, or they like to get volume, be the top person in the sales office or whatever, and actually, you know, that's just, you kind of figure it out over the years. What's the market you want to work in and why? And then you reverse engineer it, and what does the actual customer really want and why? And then you find there's the alignment. Yeah,
absolutely. Totally agree with that.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. And do you have a difference in fees between your resi business and the premium business, or how does it work?
Yeah, so we, because I'm covering both at the moment, so I have a strategy that I go through. So it's 2% plus VAT on the high value homes, and we have a 1.5% plus VAT on the resi. Now, the way I present, it doesn't matter if I'm going to and I don't go to many, but as an example, an extreme, if I went to a 2-bed flat or a 5-bedroom barn, I'll present in exactly the same way because I'll present both brands. And the reason I do that is to offer context to what we offer on the other brand as well. Because again, we changed that up. Because what I also found is with my Burton James brand is that we were doing this high level marketing, but we were also getting amazing responses and amazing feedback. And as I said to you, the fees are just much easier to come by when you're delivering a premium product and you're targeting the right client base. But once I've done my pitch, so I've said this is what you're going to get. We've got a home stylist. It's going to come out into your home, or rather, on the Burton James brand, we have a home stylist who'll come out into your home. She'll give recommendations on how to set up your home, ready for photographs, ready for videography. I always say to the client, you know, you've got to get into your head. You're no longer selling your home. You're selling your buyer's next home. So we need to present it that way, give the lifestyle that this home offers. We're then going to do professional photography. She'll turn up on the day. The lifestyle person will turn up on the day, a couple of hours before. We're going to do professional photography. We do professional videography. We do it presenter-led. It'll be me. I'll show you some examples. We're then going to send all that off and have a copywriter will write a full description for you. And then we're going to produce a really nice brochure for you that's tangible for your client. And then I'll sort of say the reason I'm telling you all this is because our other brand, WeLocate, is a watered down version. But what we've done is kept all the key components of that offering for you to benefit. Because it doesn't matter if you're selling a 2-bed terrace property or a 5-bed barn conversion. My job is the same. I've got to get the most money for your property. So the elements that we've kept are the lifestyle appointment. So we still send somebody out to have a chat with you about all that. We've kept the professional photography. We've kept the videography. And we're going to make it look fantastic for you. So I am considerably more expensive on both brands in my area. So even at 1.5%, you know, the local agents there are charging 0.75 and 1, so I'm often double. But I get it. I don't get it as in large quantities anymore, but I don't want it.
You don't want it?
No, I don't want it. It's
because you want to deliver
expensive.
what you promise.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. So give me 5 or 6 on each brand.
Was there like a time period where you're going to, you know, I'm going to have to just face facts that volume's going to go down?
Yeah.
And income's going to follow, but it's going to
a long-term
supersede in the next year or 18 months or 2 years. Was there like a conscious, like, do you know what, I'm just going to write off this year or whatever?
Yeah, exactly that. Last year.
Yeah.
It was actually last year, because I only changed the WeLocate brand properly last year. Burton James was flying, and the WeLocate was up and down. It is a tough market to be in, the resi market, when you're dealing with volume and low fees. And I said to the guys, when we had a bit of structural change and a couple of staff members left, I said, we're going to go through some pain, short-term pain. I said, but we're going to have to. So I'm going to lose some instructions, but I'm okay with it. I'm going to turn some down that I don't want to be associated with. I want us to be uniformed. I want the website to be uniformed. I want the type of property that has come into the market to be uniformed. It's going to take us probably 6 to 12 months, I think, to get there, but we'll do it. And it's probably happened quicker than I thought. Don't get me wrong, we get the odd 1 or 2 where, you know, I think we might have to take something. You've got to keep cash flow going through. But the majority of our listings now on that brand they're all uniformed, without question, but they're all the type of house that I want to attract.
So just talk branding for a second. Why did you need a second brand for the premium market?
It was a combination of things. So in my heart, or my head, probably both, bit of both. I knew it wasn't a premium brand. It looks like a mid-range brand. That's the
WeLocate.
Yeah. So our branding from day one, like James Kendall showed me his branding from when he first set up.
He loves showing people that.
Oh, it's like he was an expert on clip art.
He was.
That's what I said. The word.
Yeah, he was. Yeah. So
he shifted his mentality massively.
Yeah,
and he shifted the brand.
Yeah, do you know what? He's done it so well. But I think he had his name above the door, and that was the difference. I think.
Yeah.
So with the WeLocate brand, and the reason I set it up was to compete in the resi market, and it was set up as a low fixed fee model. I was able to change that to a percentage model, and it's done all right for the last few years, which is great. But in my head, I couldn't get past the fact that it wasn't a premium brand. It just isn't. I just know it's not. Yeah. So I wanted to start again. I didn't want it to be associated with that at all. So I just completely started again. Just rebranded.
How did you come up with the name?
So my surname is Warburton, and the last part of that is Burton.
Should have thought of that, really, shouldn't
Everybody asks, and when I say that, it is so obvious. It is so obvious. But I couldn't use Warburton because Warburton's bread is a massive name. It's right around the corner from where I live. But it's nothing to do with me.
I was going to ask.
No, I am not the billionaire David Warburton.
Do you tell them that after the contract's signed? Yeah. Sorry, that's really a state agency thing to say, isn't it?
Yeah. And then the second part of that is my son's middle name. So I was going to go for just my son's name, but he's called Eddie James, and somebody said it sounds like a bookies. So you're right. Yeah, you're right. I'll not go with it.
Wait till we get your porn star name later.
Yeah, we'll get that out of you one way or another.
Yeah. So yeah, we went with that. And it's I just love it. I mean, I love agency. I always have, but I love premium end. It's brilliant.
Do you know? I've said a couple of times on here that I've heard so many times of agents doing what you've done, being in the resi market, moving up market, loving it. I've never, ever once heard it the other way around. Where someone's been in the premium market, no, not for me. I go back to the volume game. I've never heard it.
Give me the stress.
Again, I don't want to give him too much publicity, but me and James talk all the time about that. And sometimes when you do have to, because he does the same sort of thing as me, he goes out and does the odd 3 or 4 bed semi or something like that. And it's more the passion. There's just no passion there for it. I just like to do properties that I like as well. They don't have to be multi-million-pound properties. And where I am, anything from $500,000 up to $1.5 million is probably the premium value.
Yep.
I've got one at the moment at 2.75. I've been to a couple in recent weeks at 2s and 3 millions, which is nice. But the ones that really sell are $500,000 up to $1.5 million.
Yeah.
And 2% on fees on those. Not
Great.
Sniffed at. Yeah.
It's a great business. And they churn, they sell.
Oh,
they get
absolutely.
too far up the market and they become stickier. And I get that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah.
And it's sort of not about price as well, is it? You'll see something maybe at the bottom range of where you look at there, or maybe the top range of WeLocate's business, and you go, yeah, this is really fitting for the service. It fits.
Yeah, absolutely, it does. And I've also got the other ththing as well, for anybody thinking about moving from resi up to premium and maybe rebranding, which is obviously what I've done. I think you'll find I initially started, I always present both anyway, but it's everybody chooses Burton. There's nobody chooses, not one person has ever chosen WeLocate, not once.
Yeah, despite the extra fees, despite the extra fees, everything.
I like to do it because part of me thinks that if there is a bit of a fee war, I can still get it on my resi brand, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'd rather get it than not.
Yeah, you've got that reserve position there if that's the issue of contention.
And that's been a bit of a game changer, because if there is a house that I do really want and there has to be a deal done, I can either do the deal and make the house look amazing on Burton James, and it's a nice tick in the box for us. Or I can say, well, not too fussed, we'll put it on the resi.
Yeah.
So the tangible difference between the two is
perception.
Yeah.
Honestly, and we do sort of we'll go the extra mile with the home styling on Burton James, but mainly copywritten descriptions and brochures.
Lifestyle. The staging.
Yeah, but we'll do that to a certain extent on WeLocate, and that, to be dead honest with you, Matt, that is more a pride issue for me. I cannot put a product out there where the house isn't that great. We've got.
And that's that because you invest so much in that presentation.
Yeah.
That for it to be the best opportunity to get it out there in its best light, it's like there's no second chances. We need to get this right.
Yeah, exactly. We had a 2-bed terrace last week. And it's only 300,000. It's 250,000. I can't get a massive fee on it, but we went to town on it. Because it has to be right in my head. I just will not put out an inferior product.
What about now that you'll get another owner or two or three, and they'll see that and go, "Oh, I want that. I want the same."
No,
does your brand then?
You're 100% right. You're 100% right, and that's kind of where I'm at the moment in the transition with the resi brand, because I'm turning lots away, but then you kind of go, I can't turn them all away.
Yeah.
I remember working in Milton Keynes as an agent over there, and they were very synonymous to the middle upper market, and they were turning stuff away at £300,000 or £400,000 at a time. I'm like, what? Why would you turn stuff away? But no, a long time later, you realise that actually there's an element there where you have to kind of protect your brand and what it attracts and who it attracts and what you're delivering as a service.
But that's why I think you've got, and I really agree with your strategy. I think you've got the best of both worlds. You've got the resi brand and the premium brand.
And it's still a good...
Exactly. And it often happens that, and this is something that I wanted to touch on because it came up in one of the Complete Agent podcasts talking about branding, and it's really interesting with the three of you. But it often happens that the stronger your resi brand is, the harder it is then to move that up market. That's what you want to do because more customers associate you with that residential market.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting in the conversation between the three of you where you've got two brands. James has moved his brand and Ian started a new brand that was in the premium market.
Yeah.
And Ian made a comment I thought was really interesting. And when he said it, I was like, I disagree with him then. But then something else came up in conversation after, said, okay, I kind of get it. And he said, I think there's more brand stretch than people perceive there is in agency brands. And I thought, I don't agree with that. I've not seen much of it. But then he qualified it. And what he said is because Storey's, his brand is a premium brand, you can stretch down. So people will always aspire to a premium brand, won't they? They'll always be quite happy to use a premium brand. But the other way around is often quite difficult. If you've got a very strong resi brand, it's very hard to push that up. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And to be fair to Ian, I think he's probably one of the only brands that I've seen out there that's done it.
Yeah.
I remember when we first met properly, he was actually saying to me, I'm considering not a rebrand, but adding a brand as like a prestige element to his. But for me...
From Storey's, was that?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
From the outside looking in, I said to him, I just don't think you need it. I think your brand is amazing.
Yeah.
And it is. I think he's nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
I agree.
It's sad to say, isn't it?
It is.
It's sad to say.
Don't worry, we're
but again, I think
you don't have to cut that out.
What Ian's done is he's very much stuck to the principles.
Yeah.
And I think once you've done that, a lot of not the hard work's done, but you know exactly what we stand for.
I think it's hard at the start, isn't it? Because if you're going to put the brand up there, if you're going to position your brand in the premium market, be that your only brand as it's Ian's or your premium brand, you've got to then define it and start turning away a bit of business so that you
I think
set a
there's
clear
a journey, isn't
guideline.
there? Like if you talk about like Ian when he started, I think he said he'd done 1 or 2 just to get them on and get the stories out there. And stories, there you go. I've done it. But the point is that, you know, when you first start a business or you first start a new brand in that, you have to face facts. You have to get yourself out there. You have to build your market to a degree and get those stories in. So it takes time before you can necessarily be 2% or more, maybe. You kind of work your way up to it.
Oh, is that your experience? Did you go straight in at 2% or did you work your way up there?
Strangely, we were talking about this yesterday on one of our groups. I've been 1.5 up until the middle of last year. And again, God, I'm going to give him another plug. Ian, he was another one that really encouraged me to just do it. He said, just change it overnight. Your brand's good enough. You know you're good enough. Just change it. Yeah. And I did. And I've never looked back.
And I was going to change the subject. Did you want to talk about fees then? Before?
No, I just think that's self-belief. That's belief in what you do, your value. Enough said on that.
I'm sure you say it through gritted teeth, but Ian's right.
I know, yeah. It's. I have to say, again, I have this conversation with a lot of agents now who reach out and ask for advice on various different things. And I'm just saying it is most definitely a mindset issue. Yeah. But you've got to get your proposition right. Like I'm always looking at sort of small ways to improve every single day. Always have done, always will do. But I honestly believe in my brand and I believe in the proposition that we do. And I believe in my own ability to be that.
Does the mindset follow the proposition? If the proposition's a little bit flaky, then the mindset's not going to be there. If you're rock solid on your proposition, the mindset follows?
I think so.
Well, I had someone the other day, they were telling me they really believed in what they did and the value that they give. And I said, tell me about your last 5 fees, you know, talk me through that. And they negotiated on every single one. I said, that's not, you know, that's not congruent, is it? What you just said. So, but it's, and actually they gave away a fair chunk as well. So you're talking about a lot of money. When we both discussed it, they'd had situations before that where they stuck to their guns and still got
on the business.
That's the other thing at the top end of the market. I think sometimes you're getting tested. I really do. If somebody's asking you to negotiate your fee, then I think they want to see how quick you'll negotiate. Because if you're going to do that with your client, what are you going to do with the buyer?
I often talk to agents that top end of the market is almost more B2B than it is B2C.
Great point.
Largely because I suppose it is. The people in just broad brushstroke terms, they're successful people's homes. They are likely, you know, high-up companies or they're entrepreneurs, they've built their own businesses, they've created that value there. So that's the world they live in. And they want to have those conversations on those terms.
Agreed. Yeah, absolutely. I do agree with that.
So how do you manage you? Because you do both brands, right?
Yeah.
And that can be quite a challenge sometimes if you're wearing 2 hats, and I get they're so interlinked, but do you manage that through not intentionally restricting the amount of properties you take on, or do you have a team around you? How do you manage it?
I'd be lying if I said it wasn't difficult. It's been a really tough sort of 6-12 months changing that, because like I said, we've had a few structural changes in the brand, and certainly in the residential brand, where that needs to now run itself. And it does involve me too much. And as we all know, you can't do that. I've got it to a stage where it wasn't doing that, but then we had some changes. Because again, we've got lettings. The lettings business grew quite quick. I realised that some of my systems and processes were flawed, that I needed to go back to the drawing board with that. And I'm now coming out the other side, which is great. And I'm ready to take on somebody to do that. But
the letting side or the whole of your core brand side?
Yeah, the whole of the core brand side. So I've got lettings, hopefully structured.
By the time this comes out, you know.
it'll be all fine. Let's cut that out. Lettings is great. So that's going really well. But yeah, it needed to change. But I knew, Matt, you said it before, I just had to take a step backwards to take this huge step forward.
I've done it massively recently. I think sometimes you know, it's putting your ego in a box, isn't it? And kind of going, do you know what? Actually, it's not right. I need to listen to myself. I need to listen to what I want to be doing and working on. And if it's not right, it's not right. You've got to make that decision.
Yeah, 100%.
That's actually more admirable than I see some people continuing to go down a path they know that's not right. It's that maturity, isn't it?
Yeah, agreed. So it's been difficult. Yeah, difficult. My diary has to be quite meticulously organised, and there's a lot of late nights, I'm not going to lie. My family love it. But it's for the greater good, and it's...
We're only 25 24, I guess.
I wish. I'm 43 now.
Look at him, he's like a
Bloody
spring
hell,
chicken.
yeah.
Because I can't grow any facial hair.
I've always claimed that one.
Yeah. I don't know. I need a stick-on beard. Yeah. So it's been tough. So how do I manage it? I just have to have a meticulous diary, and sometimes it's got to a stage now where Pauline, who looks after my operations on the sales side and stuff now, she will often email me saying, "Do you want this one?" It'll be a valuation that's a questionable house, and sometimes we might have to just say, "Unfortunately, we can't."
Not for us.
Yeah, I mean, one thing you can say obviously is that perhaps we won't have the type of client that would buy your property, so we're not sort of just turning you away. It's just I don't think we can help you as much. And I like to pass it on to other people because I've got self-employed people that I know that I'm happy to pass business on to, so that does help. But ultimately for me, it's more about the new brand and growing that, and the resi kind of takes care of itself. Just one point on that as well. One thing that's been really good is that a lot of the people that view properties on the higher end brand have houses to sell that are perfect to view the brand.
Tie-in.
So it's been absolutely
Completely agree.
brilliant for that. So one of the massive benefits for mainly advertising only on the top end brand is for that, because you get all the houses to sell, and the mid-range houses to sell in my end, they're all good houses, you know.
Yeah. We say that with because the buyer design business is essentially that premium brand in a box for agents, but that's one of the things we talk about is there's that element of, I hate this word synergy, but there is a synergy between the two, and then also lettings as well, because quite often you'll get a premium homeowner there and the chances of them being a landlord is slightly higher as well, so there's opportunities that come off the back of that. So you can keep the ball with your own team, if that makes sense, and pass it between lettings, between the core brand and
that's one of the biggest changes that I've seen. There's just so much more opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, you might be dealing in smaller numbers, certainly I am at the moment, but the opportunities are just tenfold.
Yeah.
Alluding to lettings there, again, I took a client on last week, he's got 10 houses in his portfolio that he manages himself, but he's not going to be managing very long because they're going to come over to us, you know, so just opportunities everywhere.
How do you, because anyone listening to this might be focusing on just being a self-employed agent or just having the sole focus of being a premium agent. It's like looking in the mirror. And well, I mean that, not the facial part, but I'm on about...
You were complimenting him a minute ago.
But someone said to me last year, the man who chases 2 rabbits catches neither.
I saw that recently.
And that really hit me quite hard last year, because I've spent a number of years chasing lots of rabbits. Not because I didn't believe in those things. And Gigs & Co was massively successful, and it still is today, because of the focus and the commitment and dedication that I put into that sole focus. And I think sometimes one of the difficulties are when you see opportunities and you've maybe enjoyed success in your initial brands and it's gone really well. You sometimes fool yourself with thinking it's just going to happen with everything that you do.
Yeah. How
do you make those decisions to divert back and go forward again with a bit more clarity? Because I know that I've had to do that over recent years, and it's a tough battle to face sometimes, because you want to make it work, but you haven't got enough time maybe to dedicate to these things.
I'll tell you what I've done recently. I've done a lot of soul searching, trying to think about what I want. And I haven't, when I was in my 20s, so I went through my work history, you know, it was only up until 29, 30 years old that I found what my calling, which was a estate agency and what have you. But I've been in property since I was like 20, 21. I loved it, knew what I wanted to do. But throughout my 20s, really, I was very money focused. I was only ever thinking about what it was all worth to me. What could I find that would pay me and make me successful? I never wanted to be in a 9-to-5 or anything like that. I always had ambitions of doing something worthwhile, self-fulfilling. And then it's only when you get a bit older and you have children and things like that, you start thinking, actually, that's not all it's cracked up to be. And you actually start to see the successes that, the finances that your passions and your ambitions bring. And then you start to make changes based around that, I find. So I think what I'm trying to get at is I started looking at where do I want to be in the next 10, 15 years? And what's going to get me there quickest? It's not by having a huge spread that I can't control. Because what you've just said there, it is once you've got 4 or 5 things going on, you become decent at all of them, but never great at one. And I think it's really important to find that one thing that you're passionate about and just go for it. And for me, it is more that premium end.
So did you kind of like prioritize that passion?
Yeah.
To then go, that's where my main focus is going to go going forward.
Yeah.
And you kind of shape your diary around that. And
yeah, exactly that. I felt it had to be that. But like I say, as soon as I started to do it, and I held off doing it, I must admit, I set the company up and then it didn't happen straight away. And one of these, I don't know whether you're the same, but I will do things on a whim, but I like to look into it first, research, make sure it's all right, and then I'll go. So it took me a while to get going, but one of the reasons I didn't do it straight away, actually, I'd learned to hold back a little bit, because I knew that as soon as I started, I knew I could make it work. I would be so busy with it that then that would start to affect and impact other parts of my life and my business. And it has, but it's only just over the last sort of 12 months I managed to curtail that and manage it a lot better. But I think I'm answering your question.
You are, no, you've prioritised your passion.
Yeah.
So in other words, you've got several businesses, but there's some you get more excited by. I mean, in the nicest possible way, I've got a lettings business who manage nearly 200 properties. Oh. But you couldn't keep me further away from that if you tried.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Right? And the ladies in there, I love them to bits. Amanda and Nadine, you're brilliant. But I absolutely have no real interest in it unless it's helping a developer talk about their long-term ambition with investing.
Yeah, I like talking about investing. I like talking about property portfolios. I've got one myself, and we do developments as well. I've got it all. I like it. I really enjoy it. But I don't want to know if Darren's boiler's broken down at number 10 Smith Street. I just don't want to know. And those are the problems that lettings bring.
So it's a great answer. Prioritise what you're passionate about, put your energy into that, really get your focus in on that area, because it's going to give you something more tangible to achieve.
You got to.
Yeah.
Well, you kind of took my next question away there, which was what the future holds. I'll come back to that in a second. But throughout all the conversation there, it's been such an assumptive, like, so I've got to focus more on the premium, and the core brand's going to be doing this and managed here. Like, what made the decision so clear for you to spend your time more than anything else in that premium end of the market? What was the driver there?
I think,
more than financial?
Yeah, I think so. Well, actually, the two go hand in hand. I love the game. I love property. I just do. And I love helping people to move house genuinely. It's not that's not the old cliche. I just do. I just really enjoy helping people out. And the two do go hand in hand. You can't have low quantity and make resi work. You just can't.
Yeah.
Whereas with the higher end market, you can. And I could see other people doing it, and I just thought, why can't I do it? I've dabbled in it before. We did a few when I was at Your Move back in the day, but I'd never done it consistently. And I knew, I've got a lot of successful friends in that arena, playing in that arena.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people. I just thought, what am I doing? I want to do it. I want to move on and concentrate my expertise in that area. Because yes, let's be honest, the financial rewards are much greater, but it also helps me to achieve the lifestyle that I really, really want. And that's kind of what I was getting at before. I've looked ahead for the next 10 or 15 years. Yeah, I genuinely think you only do it once you get it to sort of in your late 30s, 40s. You start looking at it going, hang on, it's not. Things happen in your life, don't they? Without trying to sound too miserable, things do happen in life, and it makes you start thinking, do you know what? It's not all it's cracked up to be.
No, 100%.
We've had a few things in our lives recently that have not been great, so it just made me start thinking about moving forward. What do I want out of this? What do I really want out of this? And I felt it was one of the best ways to go forward. And it's certainly, like I say, they do go hand in hand. The financial rewards are much better, of course they are. But for me, it was a lifestyle choice more than anything.
Yeah. I speak to a lot of agents as well that it's like a progression. Dare I say it, it's to burn out with the resi market. I agree with what you're saying. You can't do that on small quantities, but then there's just the burnout with that. And the next level of challenge that comes with the premium homes as well, because they are much more unique, much more difficult to value. They have their own set of quirks and challenges and nuances. And that's the next challenge in a progression, I suppose.
Yeah. Do you know what else I love doing though? I just love doing the videos.
Well, I was going to ask you about this, because and I suppose what you're doing lines up with what your strategy is, because you're very much out there front and center with the presenter-led video tours as well. And I guess that's tying into a strategy of you being the person.
Yes.
Creating that local fame around you as the person,
Yeah.
the figurehead for that business as well.
Yeah.
So talk to us about your presenter-led videos, because they're great. I've seen a few of them.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. Well, I love doing them. They were never as polished as they are now, I have to say, and you can probably find a few if you look back far enough. They were terrible. But
in 5 years' time, you'll say like the same thing about the ones now.
Yeah,
So
it's absolutely true that, and I'm always looking for that edge on the next video. What can we do? I'm always stood behind the camera thinking, how does it look, and how can we make the transitions better and stuff like that. They've got more cinematic as we've gone along, but I feel that video is probably the biggest USP when it comes to a property sale, putting it on the market. It's the only way you can really, really stand out.
So let me challenge you on that for a second, because any agent can do video.
They can't.
Good answer.
They can't. They can't be you, is my point. Yeah. And I think that just flying a camera around a house is not the same as being stood on camera, because I can tell you firsthand, people want me. They don't just want the product overall necessarily. They want me, and they want me to sell the house. So I think anybody who's going self-employed, if you're struggling to get behind the camera, just perfect your craft. It is a game changer, and it has been for me for years now, not just on the higher end stuff. It has on the resi stuff as well. I think it's, obviously Tanya's just been here. I've met Tanya Baker. Tanya Baker's videos are fantastic. We have never met. She had no idea who I was when I walked in then, but I knew exactly who she was with her 50,000 followers on Instagram.
This is the crazy thing. There's everything you've just said, and I always think of video that it fast forwards so much of a relationship. The funny thing is, so we had Tanya Baker, so we're recording 3 podcasts today. We had Tanya Baker was first, then yourself, and then we've got Oliver Howard, who's
seen him. Great videos.
Well, there you go.
He's a almost comedy a bit in there.
Some of it really makes me laugh.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
But like, he's got that's his edge, and that's a whole different conversation as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it was really interesting. So we told Tanya who was coming today, and she's like, "Oh, Oliver, can't wait to see him." And they've never met.
No.
But they both feel like they know each other because they've seen so much of each other online, and it's like,
but it's not who charges the least; it's who do they like the most from a customer's perspective.
I agree.
Yeah, and I think this is where video brings you to a place where you can get your authenticity across, and you can get your connection with your audience, and those people that follow you become, generally speaking, people that admire what you do and they like what you do. And actually, that's the whole idea of this. This is the whole idea of the videography and building your personal brand, and whilst building the business's brand. I think it's pretty important. Just the Complete Agent is a group of estate agents that, David's been listening. I haven't yet, but I will do, because I've got a lot of time for all of the guys.
He's a tough nut to crack, his old. You'll get that. He doesn't listen to this one, so
I prefer watching my own videos. Imagine if I was serious. Someone said to me, "Do you watch your own videos?" Like, no way. I hate watching my own videos.
I'll cut that bit out. This is all on camera.
But it's direct mail. And a lot of it seems from the outside looking in to talk a lot about that approach.
Yeah.
Tell me about your take on that, because it's one of my weaknesses over the years. Like we all just talked a minute ago about what are your strengths and getting them across on camera. I'm probably better at that than I am across other areas, like my prospecting. I'm terrible at prospecting, if you want to call it that, or direct mail. It's just something in the business. It's never been a major force of our businesses, but it's not because I've got anything against it. It's just not been as important as it is to other people. Tell us about your successes with that.
Again, if you're not doing it, I'd say to anybody listening, it is an absolute game changer if you get it right. Now, there's some great companies out there, the likes of Spectres, Home Searches, where you can do the sort of 1 week, 4 week, 6 week letter drops and things like that. But with the greatest respect to those companies there, they're all the same. A lot of them are the same. People are writing the same thing. So you'll go into, if you've seen it yourself, you go into an empty property, there's about 15 different postcards on the floor saying, we've just sold a property here, or we've got buyers waiting and all that.
We're just about to send a postcard out.
Postcards are all right.
But do you know what? You're right, though. It's like, and we've looked at the imagery and the message on it and stuff, making sure that it's more us than the rest.
That's a marketing mix, and you've got to do it. We do postcards, of course we do. I'm not knocking them at all. But in terms of direct mail, the majority of people will just put something through a door saying, we have just sold, we are incredible at what we do, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. The direct mail that I've always done is informative content. Yeah. So it's always geared around what is the market doing in our local area. and how is that going to affect you if you're looking to sell or rent your home? Simple as that.
Yeah.
It's long form. It's not like one sheet of paper. Sometimes it's 4, 5, and 6. And I have to say it is comfortably the biggest return on investment we get.
How regular and what's your strategy? Sorry.
So I do quarterly, definitely. So every quarter.
Like a newsletter type.
Newsletter, yeah. So every quarter a newsletter goes out. But I say it's a newsletter. It's not like your standard stapled together and double-sided. It's a proper letter. So it's addressed. It's not obviously addressed to the person because I don't often know who they are. But it's addressed. It's single-sided. It's usually 5 or 6 pages, and it's informative content about the market. It gets sent to FG&H post council tax bands, so we know that those are at the higher end.
And that's done through the postal system?
So we do it. They're all the envelopes are handwritten and hand stamped and then folded. It's a big operation, and one of the reasons, main reason,
going back in the day, that isn't it?
I know, but it's
all
all
nice
about
touch though with the hand.
Yeah. Well, it's about opening it. I think if you get a franked envelope that's printed, you know when it's
away.
Yeah. I don't often open them. You know when they're junk mail. You just rip them up and chuck them away. With a handwritten envelope, you will open it every single time, and then it's just about getting the right message in front of people. So we do them every single quarter. It's informative content. In my area, I'm sending out 7,000 every single quarter to the same homes every single quarter. You'll get the odd one or two who tell you that you're wasting paper and you need to start thinking about your carbon footprint and take me off the database. Of course you do, you always do. But it's such a small percentage that the majority like it. We book loads of valuations of it. In terms of, I think I mentioned it on one of our pods, but in terms of units, you might go, that's not an amazing return. But you've got to remember, you send them to FG&H postcodes.
Not about unit numbers.
No, it's not. It's about pounds.
Yeah.
Pound notes. And the one we did at Christmas, we sent them out in December. We wanted them to land between Christmas and early New Year, so that you've got the New Year, New Start Brigade, everybody picking it up. I went to in excess of £20 million worth of properties on the back of that letter campaign.
Do you mind sharing roughly how much that costs you per year to do that course like that?
Yes,
roughly speaking.
The one that I did at Christmas, I've actually increased my area. So the one that I did at Christmas was about £5,500.
Yeah.
So obviously times that by 4 over the year, but I've just increased my area.
Yeah.
And I would increase it more if I could.
Yeah.
It's that good, the return on investment.
And then what do? Do you get everyone in the office together, folding, writing,
Who's got the neatest
stamping?
writing?
Yeah.
Do you know what? We're all not bad.
God, mine's dreadful.
Yeah.
I'm not just doing that like making a bad cup of tea so nobody asks you again.
That's the
trick. My writing is generally pretty poor.
I actually had my family writing out letters.
Oh, but
at
child
Christmas.
labour, brilliant. Nice
Yeah.
one. There you go.
I said
that is genius.
Well,
yeah,
they were
Jeff,
all-
my eldest got very
but
neat writing.
the trouble is, Matt, none of them passed the test. There was only one. I think my mum. And my mum ended up writing a few over Christmas. She loved it. But that's not a sustainable method, obviously. But if the majority of people we speak to, they just cannot fathom getting out 5,500 letters every quarter, handwritten, hand stamped, folded, signed out. They just can't get their head around it. So you've got to have a system, and you've got to be prepared to put the work in. Now my system's a bit slightly different to James and Ian's, but we all do the same.
Believe in the principle of it.
Yeah. So for me, I look at the end goal again. I always look ahead. So the next one's going out in April. We're already well on the way to writing all the envelopes for April. So as soon as the letter is written, all that we'll be doing is folding them. And generally, what I do is we turn the phones off for a few hours. All 5 or 6 of us come in. I get the pizzas in, put some music on, and we start stuffing envelopes. And it's a bit of fun, to be honest.
Yeah.
Changes it up.
Yeah. So you're just doing it daily. So if I said to you, you've got to do 7,000 envelopes this week, you'd be like, oh my God, what with phones ringing and everything? Whereas if I said to you, you need to do 30 a day.
Yeah. Becomes manageable.
Game changer, yeah. So, and there's other ways of doing it. The writing, generally, I know we're joking about it there, it can be a problem. If you've all got crap handwriting, then what are you going to do? There are ways around it. I know James found one which was really useful. So there are things.
Well, like an online service where they write it.
Yeah, exactly. So Ian again's done it. He's outsourced it. It can be done. It's not hard. It's just getting organised. But I cannot tell you, and I don't care. I'll always
no, it's good.
Bang on about it. I'm dead passionate about it.
Yeah.
If you can find the right message in your letter, and you commit to sending them out, it'll transform your business.
And one last quick question on that, because we're talking about the off-market market, just maybe not the right term for it, but the whole of market.
Yeah.
I appreciate it's not an either or question, but on-market touting versus the off-market general updates, where do you sit in favour of one or the other?
So we do both. And again, the on-market stuff, I tend to do them in bulk. I don't do the 1 week, 4 week, 6 week.
Yeah.
I just do it. I feel like
Same principle, handwritten, hand stamped.
Yeah. I subscribe to no bullshit. So for me, it's more.
How much does that cost a month?
What I mean by that is, I genuinely just want to update you. It's like when you go to a valuation, they'll have 3 agents out, and one will value it at $1 million when you know it's just not going to be $1 million. Yeah. And I'm big on my data. I like to show pound per square foot. I like to show, obviously, best price guides. I think it's still great, but pound per square foot, what's happening in the area. I'm not valuing your home. The market's valuing your home. So I just want to tell people what's going on. So every month or so, usually in line with the Rightmove house price index, things like that, I like to just tell you what's going on. So this is your on the market monthly update. The beauty of it is you can relate it to what should be happening with their advertising right now. So the latest one we did was basically, so Rightmove have reported that 5% more buyers have come to the market now. However, there are 15% more properties, so there's more competition. People are taking more time to make decisions, and this is backed up by the fact that it's now taking 71 days as opposed to 51 days to sell a house. So that's gone up. So it's really important that you price your property. However, sales are up 20%. So you must have been getting loads of viewings. Your agent will have been talking to you about that. So you can kind of subtly bring it back to that.
Yeah.
So your agent will have been talking to you about that, I'm sure. But when they're reading it, they're going, I'm not from my agent for 6 weeks. So it's just that little bit of subtlety. And
nice.
Like I say, it's long form, it's educational, it's just updating about the market. And then at the end, there's a little bit, next steps. If you fancy an informal chat, give us a call. There's never any push. And to be honest, that's my style. I'm not the type to...
No, you can pick
no hard
up.
sale, but position of authority from the understanding of the marketplace. Awesome.
Exactly that. Yeah, exactly that. So I like both. We do both.
Cool. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Right. So we've reached the end of our podcast, and we do have a bit of a stupid closing tradition. He's braced. For those of you that are not watching, David just sort of audibly sighed.
I actually think mine's not bad.
Good.
Oh,
Let's have a
okay.
challenger.
I think it's not bad. I think it's going to be up there.
Good.
I think it is anyway. And it depends how you interpret
set our
it.
expectations very high now.
My porn star name is Guy Dougal. It's not bad, is it?
Pretty good.
That's got a ring to it.
I'm assuming Dougal's the middle name.
Dougal.
Sorry.
Yeah, Guy Dougal.
Oh,
There you go.
That's
I like
up there.
that.
I would say that's in
think
the top 4.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yours is at the top. I
Kevin
believe.
Tiny, yeah. I mean,
Infuriates me.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I want to get someone to make
No
up.
one will
for it.
ever beat that.
I don't know.
How
It's
can it
just
be
so
beat?
absurd, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty random.
Yeah.
David, thank you so much for joining us.
Really enjoyed chatting to you.
Really
No,
enjoyed
thank you.
chatting.
Thanks
There's
for
so
inviting me
much
on. Really
value
appreciate
there.
it, guys.
And also, like, really, I can't think of the word here, but really agree with the journey that you're on with the Complete Agent with Ian and James. It's been a great
Top guys.
opportunity for us to have the third of the 3 Musketeers from the Complete
Yeah.
Agent on the podcast today as well, which is awesome. But the journey and the mission that you're on of encouraging agents to move up market and helping them on their way is something that is close to our heart with what we're doing with this podcast, with By Design, with our newsletter, with everything. I think it's the right thing for agents at the right time now, isn't it? So
Yeah, absolutely.
awesome. So again, thank you. Thank you for sharing so much.
Thank
and
you,
for
guys. Really appreciate it.
making the trip
mate.
down from the frozen north. We really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Cheers.
And thank you for watching or listening to this episode of Property Porn Stars. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you in the next episode.
See ya.